There is a place where science stopped being science and turned into a weapon. And the scariest part? A lot of people involved basically walked away. Unit 731 was a secret Japanese military program built in occupied China before and during World War II. It wasn't a normal lab. It was a factory for biological warfare, disease as a tool, and it used real human beings as test subjects. Today we're going to follow how it started, what happened inside, how it spread disease outside, and why, after the war, so many records vanished and so many people avoided a real trial. Picture northern China in the 1930s. Japan has occupied Manchuria and set up a puppet state called Manchukuo. In this chaos, the Japanese army gets a dangerous idea. If modern wars are won with technology, then maybe the next big weapon isn't a tank. It's a germ. A military doctor named Shiro Ishii becomes the face of that idea. He pushes for a giant secret research base near Harbin, in a district called Pingfang. Officially, it's about epidemic prevention and water purification. In reality, it's the opposite, creating outbreaks on purpose. By 1936, Unit 731 is officially established as part of the Japanese Army's medical and public health structure. Again, on paper. And the facility grows into a large complex with multiple buildings and branches. This isn't one small room with a few notebooks. This is an industrial operation. And here's where the story gets heavy. Unit 731's work included human experimentation and biological warfare research. Victims were often prisoners and civilians from occupied regions, especially Chinese people and others too. So what were they trying to do? Unit 731 wanted answers to questions like, if we release disease in a city, how fast does it spread? How long can certain germs survive in water, food, or cold weather? What delivery method works better? Contaminated water, insects, or airborne release?
Self-piloted balloons. Both of these pilotless carriers could be used effectively and without any danger to the enemy.
It's a kind of research that sounds like a movie villain plan, but it was real military planning. Japan had signed the 1925 Geneva Protocol, which banned chemical and biological weapons in war. Instead of stopping, the Japanese military treated the ban like a hint. If it's banned, it must be powerful. And secrecy wasn't just a detail. Secrecy was the system. The facility was guarded. The program was hidden behind harmless names, and victims were dehumanized, turned into numbers, not people. This makes it easier to do the unthinkable day after day, like it's paperwork. But unlike paperwork, this left bodies inside the system and later outside it too. Now, one common question is, how many victims? The honest answer is we don't have one clean number, because the program destroyed evidence at the end of the war and because some information was buried afterward. Still, historians and institutions give ranges, and they often separate two categories. One, deaths in facilities from experiments, and two, deaths from biological warfare operations in the field. Some estimates say thousands died inside the main facility, while wider estimates, including outbreaks, go much higher. The number is important, but the reality behind it is worse. This wasn't a single crime. It was a machine that ran for years. Here's the part that turns Unit 731 from horrible lab to mass harm. They didn't keep it contained. Evidence and testimony from post-war investigations and trials describe biological warfare actions, including the use of plague-infected fleas in parts of China. There are accounts linked to outbreaks after these operations. If you're thinking, that sounds impossible to control, you're right. Once disease is out, it doesn't check uniforms. It spreads to civilians. It spreads unpredictably. And that's exactly why biological weapons scare even the people who try to use them. Then 1945 hits. Japan is losing the war. The Soviet Union advances into Manchuria. Unit 731 scrambles to erase itself, destroy buildings, burn records, remove traces. That's why so much of this story is stitched together from survivor accounts, capture documents, and later testimony. Because the people running it tried to delete the whole thing like it was a bad search history. So you'd expect a massive international trial, right? Like what happened in Europe with Nazi war crimes. Here's where the story takes a sharp, uncomfortable turn. The post-war outcomes were very different. In Germany, Nazi doctors were prosecuted publicly. In Japan, US officials were involved in concealing parts of the biological warfare program and securing immunity for some perpetrators in exchange for data. Why would the US do that? Cold War logic. The US and the Soviet Union were racing for military advantage. Information became currency. And Unit 731's data, collected through crimes, was seen as valuable by people who cared more about winning the next conflict than judging the last one. This doesn't excuse anything. It explains how something morally obvious put them on trial, got buried under strategy. Meanwhile, the Soviets held trials in Khabarovsk in late 1949. 12 Japanese personnel were tried for manufacturing and using biological weapons. They were convicted and given labor camp sentences. In the West, these trials were often dismissed for decades as propaganda. But later scholarship argues the core findings were broadly accurate, even if the politics around them were messy. So you get this split-screen world. One side holds a trial that many people ignore. The other side makes deals that many people don't learn about until much later. And after the war, something else happens that makes Unit 731 even harder to talk about: silence. Japan's public memory of World War II has many layers, some acknowledged, some debated, some denied, some minimized. The victims were mostly outside Japan, which made it easier for the story to stay over there. And when evidence is missing and politics are loud, truth has to fight for oxygen. In 2025, newly surfaced Japanese archival material reported by major media suggested the network of units involved in human experimentation may have been broader than many people realized, pointing to additional units beyond Unit 731. If that reporting holds up, it reinforces something historians have argued for years. Unit 731 wasn't a one-off monster. It was part of a system. And systems don't disappear just because a war ends. They disappear when they're exposed, judged, and dismantled. So what's the real lesson of Unit 731? It's not just war is bad. We already know that. The real lesson is how easy it is for smart people to become dangerous when they stop seeing humans as humans. Give a program secrecy, a patriotic excuse, a scientific label, and victims who can't fight back. And you can build a nightmare that looks from the outside like a normal government department. And here's the hardest part to sit with: the aftermath. If justice depends on power, then justice becomes selective. Unit 731 shows how evidence can be destroyed, how deals can be made, and how history can be delayed, sometimes for decades, until documents leak, witnesses speak, and researchers connect the dots. That doesn't bring people back, but it does change what the world is forced to admit. Unit 731 isn't just a story about the past. It's a warning label for the future. When cruelty wears a lab coat, it can look official. When cruelty gets buried under national interest. It can look complicated, but it's not complicated for the victims. It never was,